There's a strange thing about history. Sometimes the winners are forgotten and the dead get temples. Take Guan Yu, warrior, general, symbol of loyalty. His face ends up on altars in temples, even hanging on the walls of small businesses as a charm for honesty and protection. And the man who ordered his death? Sun Quan, one of the sharpest political minds of the Three Kingdoms era, rarely gets a mural, much less a prayer. That's the problem with killing a legend. You might win the war, but you lose the story. So was Sun Quan wrong to execute Guan Yu? Or was it one of the most rational, necessary, and cold-blooded moves in ancient politics? Let's talk about it, because this isn't just about two men, it's about the eternal clash between loyalty and survival. After the Great Alliance that broke the Northern Empire's back at Red Cliffs, the land was divided into uneasy neighbors. In the south, Sun Quan controlled the rich, humid lands of the lower river. In the west, Liu Bei was rebuilding a state from scratch. And in between them lay a prize neither wanted to give up, a region called Jing Province. Officially, Sun Quan had loaned this territory to Liu Bei, just for safekeeping until Liu could secure new lands farther west. That was the story on paper. But power doesn't come with return policies. Liu Bei's forces settled in, appointed their own administrators, and never looked back. Sun Quan wanted it back. Liu Bei pretended the conversation never happened. To make things worse, the man Sun Quan had to deal with wasn't Liu Bei himself, it was his field commander, Guan Yu. And Guan Yu didn't exactly have a reputation for diplomacy. He was brave, brilliant, utterly loyal to his lord, and absolutely insufferable to everyone else. You could negotiate with a snake before you could reason with Guan Yu. Still, for a while, the balance held. Both sides needed each other against the north. But underneath that alliance, tension was bubbling. Sun Quan's advisors kept warning, as long as Guan Yu holds that province, the south's throat is in another man's hand. And one day, that hand would squeeze.
The spark came when Guan Yu decided to do something audacious, march north to attack the city of Fan, a stronghold of the Northern Empire. It was a bold plan, and for a time, a brilliant one. He flooded enemy camps, captured entire armies, and humiliated some of the best commanders in the north. He even took 7 enemy generals alive and executed them as trophies. His fame skyrocketed, his arrogance followed. Guan Yu's letters to Sun Quan's court turned sharper. When Sun Quan suggested a political marriage between their families, a way to rebuild trust, Guan Yu didn't just decline, he mocked the proposal. In public, loudly. It was the ancient version of ghosting someone and then posting about it. To Sun Quan, that wasn't just disrespect, it was an open declaration that Guan Yu saw himself as untouchable. But arrogance is the twin brother of vulnerability. While Guan Yu's army was chasing glory in the north, he had stripped his southern defenses bare. Jing Province, the jewel of the south, was practically undefended. The opportunity was right there, and Sun Quan was a man who never ignored open doors. Sun Quan gathered his council. Opinions split the room. Some argued they should capture Guan Yu alive and use him as leverage, a hostage to keep the fragile alliance intact. Others said that was suicide. Guan Yu wasn't a man you kept, he was a symbol. You couldn't negotiate with a living myth, you could only erase it. Sun Quan listened quietly, his mind calculating like an abacus. If he waited, the window would close. If he struck Mao, he'd risk a war with Liu Bei, but he'd secure the province that controlled the river, the trade routes, and his entire eastern defense line. He chose the second option, fast, clean, final. Sun Quan sent his generals to move while Guan Yu's attention was still locked northward. They hit Jing from behind, cutting off Guan Yu's retreat, closing the noose city by city. When Guan Yu realized what had happened, it was too late. His troops scattered, his supplies were gone, his luck ran out. He was captured near the small town of Maicheng, tired, hungry, surrounded. There are stories that he was offered his life if he swore loyalty to Sun Quan, but Guan Yu wasn't built for that kind of humility. He refused, just as everyone knew he would. And so, Sun Quan gave the order. Execute him. When Guan Yu's head was sent north to the imperial court, it wasn't out of cruelty, it was strategy. Sun Quan needed the northern rulers to see he wasn't their enemy right now. He'd cleaned up their problem. For the moment, they had a common interest, and that meant peace on one front. It was a classic Sun Quan move, unromantic, efficient, and quietly brutal. The news of Guan Yu's death exploded like thunder. To Liu Bei, it wasn't just the death of a general. Guan Yu had been his sworn brother, his war companion, his right arm. To the people who admired him, it was the death of loyalty itself. Liu Bei's grief turned to rage. He refused to listen to advisors who begged for restraint. He wanted blood, and he wanted it from Sun Quan personally. So he did what angry kings always do. He gathered an army. When his troops marched east to avenge Guan Yu, it wasn't just vengeance. It was ego wrapped in righteousness. The war that followed, the Battle of Yiling, became one of the deadliest in the Three Kingdoms period. And here's the ironic twist. Sun Quan, the man branded as a traitor for killing Guan Yu, ended up winning that war. His commander, a young strategist named Lucian, executed a masterclass in patience, letting Liu Bei's army exhaust itself in the summer heat before burning it to ashes in a sudden counterattack. When the smoke cleared, Liu Bei's dream of vengeance was gone. His army was shattered. His brotherhood was avenged only in name. And Sun Quan? He still had Jing Province, and his kingdom intact. The man who killed a god had won, but nobody built him a temple.
So, was it a mistake? That depends on what you think a ruler's job is. If you believe a ruler must uphold loyalty, friendship, and trust above all, then yes, Sun Quan committed the ultimate sin. He killed the living embodiment of loyalty and destroyed the alliance that once protected his land. But if you believe a ruler's job is to keep his people alive, secure his borders, and prevent his state from being wiped off the map, then it's hard to call it wrong. Sun Quan wasn't playing morality chess, he was playing survival poker. And in that game, he didn't fold. Killing Guan Yu bought him 3 priceless things. First, the return of Jing Province, his defensive heartland. Second, temporary peace with the Northern Empire. And third, the destruction of a military threat that would only have grown worse with time. Yes, he earned Liu Bei's hatred, but that was inevitable the moment Guan Yu refused to share power. The war between them was coming sooner or later. Sun Quan simply chose to control the timing. It's tempting to call that cynical, but it's actually disciplined. Sun Quan knew something most rulers don't, that survival sometimes means sacrificing reputation, and history, unfair as it is, tends to remember loud martyrs more fondly than quiet survivors. Let's step back for a moment. Guan Yu represents the ideal: loyalty, courage, righteousness, the kind of traits that make great stories and terrible governments. Sun Quan represents the pragmatic, cautious, analytical, willing to make unheroic choices to ensure their people live another day. One became a saint, the other became a footnote. That's the price of realism. It rarely gets statues. It's easy centuries later to moralize, to say Sun Quan should have been more loyal or more honorable, but that assumes he had the luxury of safety. He didn't. His territory sat between 2 ambitious powers, both larger than his own. He was the small king playing a dangerous balancing act, and he couldn't afford sentimental politics. History remembers him as calculating, but that calculation gave his state half a century of stability, a lifetime by ancient standards. And Guan Yu, he was immortalized in legend, but his death shattered the alliance his lord needed most. His pride cost a kingdom its shield. So who was truly wrong? Maybe both. Maybe neither. Maybe morality just loses coherence when the stakes are survival. Over time, the story mutated. Guan Yu's legend only grew. He became the patron of loyalty, valor, and justice. His death turned into a parable about betrayal and virtue. His name became synonymous with righteousness.
Sun Quan, meanwhile, slipped into historical obscurity. Few worship him, few even debate him. He became the invisible survivor, the man who made the hard choice, won the war, and then quietly vanished into footnotes while the ghost of his victim became divine. It's a pattern that repeats in every age. The realist wins the world, the idealist wins eternity. History needs both, the men who fight for principle and the ones who keep the lights on after the flames die out.
So, was Sun Quan's decision a strategic mistake? Not for his state, not for his people, but maybe for his soul, or at least his reputation. He won the war of survival, but lost the war of memory. And in the end, history is written not by the survivors, but by the storytellers, and they loved Guan Yu more. When you stand in a temple and see a red-faced warrior enshrined in gold, remember this: that god was once a man who lost a battle. And the man who defeated him didn't get worshipped, just forgotten. Maybe that's the final irony of power, that logic wins kingdoms, but legend wins hearts. So here's the question. If you were in Sun Quan's seat, staring down the map, knowing one move could save your state but stain your name for centuries, would you still sign the order? Because that's the real question this story asks. Not who was right, but who was willing to live with being wrong. Empires rise on loyalty and fall on pride. Sun Quan's empire survived because he chose to be practical, not popular. Guan Yu became immortal because he chose to die the hero. Together, they shaped one of the most haunting paradoxes in history, that righteousness makes martyrs and ruthlessness makes survivors. And somewhere between them lies the uncomfortable truth of leadership. You can be loved, or you can last, but not both.